Millions of tons of perfectly good food is being destroyed before it even leaves the farm. I got in touch with over 50 UK farmers who between them supply the major supermarkets. But for some reason, hardly any of them wanted to talk on camera. One of the few exceptions was Norfolk veg farmers, the Hammonds. They've been growing parsnips on Tatterset Farm for 3 generations. Ollie and his mum Debs are harvesting and packing 7 days a week. But the business is up against it. Almost all supermarket fruit and veg is graded, using strict cosmetic standards that define to the millimetre exactly what's acceptable. According to Ollie, most farmers are just too scared to speak out and criticise the supermarkets that pay them. Are you effectively producing at cost at the moment?
Yes. Yes.
Do you expect to make a profit on the farm this year?
No.
None?
None.
Right. Really? How long has it been like that? How long have you been in that cycle?
Probably longer than is good for us as a family business.
If this continues, what's the future?
Closure, basically.
Arguably, you should be pulling the plug right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
If Grandfather was around today, he would have said, guys, you've done your best. You're up against the odds now. Let's call it a day. Yeah. What's the point coming up here 7 days a week to do this for nothing? Just to keep my girls in, a place of work.
You're upset, aren't you?
Sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. I mean, they're just such great products, aren't they? Mm.
And they're grown with so much passion. Where's Ollie gone? Has he been... Oh, he's upset too now. It's a big fight.
Yeah.
A big, big fight.
Ollie's grandfather started the farm in the 1970s. Back then, he never had to waste crops because of cosmetic standards. And now the Hammond family are close to calling it a day.
It's not a pretty sight for my eyes, anyway.
No. We haven't yet mentioned the name of the supermarket you mainly supply. Are you happy to tell me who they are?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So who are these parsnips being supplied to?
They were destined for Morrison's.
One of the most extraordinary food revolts started here, in a small town in Yorkshire.
There was a whole group of people who were worried about the state the world was in, all the resources getting used up, what our children would inherit in the future. And we could see that the environmental conferences weren't doing anything and nothing was happening. Governments were doing nothing, scientists were doing nothing. So we decided we'd stop being victims and just go out and do something ourselves. I'm a volunteer with Incredible Edible Todmorden. We are all unpaid volunteers. We all worried about the state of things and decided we would do something. And we decided we use food because food crosses all cultures and creeds. So we thought if we'd use food, we would reach everybody. So the idea was hatched around a kitchen table which was covered in food, and somebody shouted out, why don't you just call it Incredible Edible Todmorden? And it's a mouthful, but it's stuck. Most of the townsfolk thought we were crazy. Somebody actually wrote a letter to the local newspaper and said, these people are crazy. They are planting food in public places, and somebody will come along and take it all. Well, yes, exactly, that's why we're doing it. It did take 18 months before people would start picking, because it's the very English thing, they thought it was stealing and it wasn't quite right, but now we have no surplus. We have to beg apples for Harvest Festival because we don't have an apple left. There are hundreds of Incredible Edible groups now in towns all across the world, from New Zealand to Africa. There's an Incredible Edible Benin. There are 4, I think, in Manchester, 3 in London. Apples and blackcurrants are the big thing. They adore that. Mint, people pick a lot of mint. When we first planted kale, people weren't taking it because they didn't understand what it was. So we had to put up a recipe of how to use kale. And now that is massively picked, if ever we put that anywhere. We're trying to show that food can be picked straight off a tree and eaten. I eat my way around town. It isn't dirty. I haven't died. And now the children are teaching the parents. A neighbour came up to me and said, "You've caused me no end of trouble." And I said, "Why?" She said, "Well, my son has come home and said we have to plant an apple tree." So the children have really taken it up. Eat naked vegetables, buy naked vegetables, have potatoes with dirt on and carrots with tops on. It's a much healthier way to live. It's better for the planet, it's better for the environment, and it's better for you.
I'm heading back to the Hammonds at Tattaset Farm, and today is a really tough day for them. After 30 years, they're lifting their last crop ever.
It's a difficult day.
Yeah.
After 30 odd years supplying the supermarkets, and us as third generation working in the job, it's now coming to an end today.
Have you told Morrison's that you're no longer in the business of growing parsnips?
Yes, we have, yeah. We sent emails to people I've dealt with at Morrison's for over 20 years, and we've never heard anything from them since that day.
Been loyal, hard-working, honest, and actually they don't give a damn. You know, it's a tough day.
When I contacted Morrison's after my first visit, they seemed very upbeat about the possibility of a filmed interview at the farm to talk about waste caused by cosmetic standards. But Kev was getting a very different message from them.
The head guys had said to you that they would like to do something, but the conversation I had was, "Kevin, you need to bury it."
Bury what?
Bury the TV interview, the camera work, the whole show, because we're not coming. We've said we were, but we're not coming.
Yeah.
I need to be really clear about this because they've got big fat lawyers.
Oh, yes.
So is that the phrase they
That
actually
is the
use?
actual phrase that he used. Kev, can you bury this for us? We want it buried.
We saw a picture of the turtle with the carrier bag in its mouth and of an albatross who had like pounds of plastic in its stomach. And it consisted of bottle caps, cigarette lighter, toothbrush, plastic toys, stuff that we were using on a daily basis. And my husband saw that picture of the turtle and he said, "We are never taking another carrier bag ever again."
How much waste do you generate a year? Have you ever worked it out?
Last year we created a carrier bag of waste.
What, carrier bag?
Yeah.
What, you mean this?
Yes,
Of waste?
of landfill waste.
In a year? How many are you?
3. And a rabbit.
3 of you and a rabbit. Well, the rabbit, I suppose, eats most things. But anyway, that's extraordinary. But what about your newspapers?
They get recycled.
So, waste that cannot be recycled
Yeah.
for a whole year. That's absolutely amazing. I would love to know, I mean, how you do it. Purely by how you choose the shop, or are there other ways?
It starts before you get to the checkout. You have to make a conscious decision before you hit the checkout.
Right.
So basically, you pick something up, oh, that looks nice.
Yeah.
You have to ask yourself, what am I going to do with either this product or this packaging when I have finished using it? And so whereas most people perhaps turn it over to look at the price, we turn it over to look at the recycling information.
Right.
So this is something that lots of parents buy for their kids. It comes in this laminated pouch with a plastic.
That's orange juice.
Yeah, it's orange juice. So instead of buying it in a carton that could be recycled or a glass bottle, this, the green dot symbol, you familiar with that one?
No, I'm not. I get confused with all these symbols.
Right, well this symbol here, lots of people think that's a recycling symbol.
Isn't it?
But it's not a recycling symbol. It means that this company has paid a certain amount to have their products recycled, but the consumer cannot do anything with that.
It's not hard to learn on a packet of cigarettes that they kill you.
Yes.
It's very clearly so. Why isn't it clearly
Yeah.
written on these?
I asked you to pledge your support to help force all of our supermarkets to relax their crazy cosmetic standards and reduce waste. And I'm thrilled to say that within just a few months of this public outcry, many of our supermarkets have responded with new ranges of cosmetically imperfect fruit and veg, which are available in stores right now. M&S, Lidl, Aldi and the Co-op have all told me that they're easing up the specs on some of their British-grown produce. Mostly carrots, onions and potatoes.
I'm studying a Master Embroidery at Manchester School of Art. My embroidery is a way of illustrating stories, so I would call it contemporary embroidery, almost. I'm not that great with nutritionally because I felt like I have done research about it of what I should include in my diet, but I never really stick to it because I always forget of what I need. I tend to have a budget plan of spending about £10 a week on food shoppings. Being a master's student, they only pay for my tuition fee, no living cost. Not having enough money is always a constant struggle.
1 in 5 people live in poverty in the UK, which means it might be difficult for people to have healthy, nutritious meals. And this could be due to financial reasons. It could be due to the fact that they're at home alone and they find it difficult to get out. And they might not have family around, they might feel quite isolated. They may also feel as though they don't want to cook a meal for one.
And what I always do is that I actually always have an egg with my meal. So sunny side up, or like fried rice with like an egg on top, or like pasta with an egg on top, a baked potato with an egg on top.
It's sometimes easier to eat junk food, which isn't as healthy and it's not nutritious, but people find it's just easier to eat that than cook a healthy, nutritious meal.
For instance, if you don't have access to, say, a healthy diet, say for instance you was a rough sleeper, like not all food's going to give you nutrition. You might have to just eat bags of crisps or something. That's not good for you. That's not going to provide nutrition.
I think nutrition is important because I think it helps you probably your body defend itself from diseases and or bacteria.
And in the long run, a consequence of poor nutrition can be obesity. People can become malnourished. It can also give rise to killer diseases such as diabetes, heart disease and cancer.
I think it's so important that we serve every day like a very strong and very complete and full vegetarian meal to these people. They usually have only access to junk food, and so at least once a week they can just get something that is good for them.
So I feel like going to the food cycle, and it's actually a complete tick point for me of actually getting my nutrition, my 5 a day, at least once a week. So then I feel like I'm actually keeping myself healthy at that level.
So one of the most interesting things about food cycle is the cycle that the foods actually takes. We're taking something out of the rubbish bin, almost, and we're turning into some energy for somebody else for tomorrow. This is what a food cycle is all about.
I do genuinely really like the food because they have like interesting recipe every time I go. There's never really been the same thing every time.
A seminal moment in the morning, which is really, really lovely, is the moment that all the food that is available is put down on the table, and then everybody makes up the minds of what we're going to do.
The food is actually amazing.
The meals are fantastic. The people are really great. I've been coming for 3 years.
So that environment is really good at Food Cycle, that we're actually getting to know each other more, we're having food together, because I live by myself, so I don't eat together with people a lot, because I don't see my parents at all, so that's why I need that Wednesday. So it feels like a family.
Food Cycle, one of the things that we notice on the daily is not just the nutritional aspect of the food, but it is everything that comes with it. The joy, the transformation of energy, this capacity to really give somebody another lease of life, give another lease of life to their food, give another lease of life to the person that you serve in the food.